This is Mainstream Metaphysics with your host, Nick Newmont.
Well, it is a Tuesday night in Southern California. It's 7 o'clock here on the West Coast. Hi, I'm Nick Newmont, and welcome to Mainstream Metaphysics, coming to you live from the studios of Conejo Valley Talk Radio in the heart of Westlake Village, California. And joining me back again in a couple of weeks, fellow astrologer Lisa Allen. Welcome.
I am so happy to be back. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Well, you caused yourself to be back because your topic that you're going to focus on tonight, you kind of teased a couple weeks ago. And for those of you that have been watching, I've been putting a lot of focus on astrology the last few shows because there's a lot going on astrologically, and Lisa and I are going to get into this and break it down, and you'll come away understanding what all it means. Before we jump into the show, one quick announcement. The Tarot class from the Rider deck, I will be teaching that on Saturday, July 19th. There are still chairs available, and you can attend live at the Newmont Center, or you may Zoom the class. I'll have to send you the handout, and you need the Tarot cards. But if you'd like more information on Tarot, it's called Tarot with a Twist. And that's coming up Saturday, July 19th. So get in touch with me. Also, if you do not have a copy of Audrey's book, The Mind Trip Game, the book is incredible. It is a therapy session in 98 pages. It's so well written, easy to understand, and it's like spending a number of hours with Audrey, depending on how fast you read. It's available on Amazon or through us at the Newmont Center. It is a marvelous book, all kinds of drawings and Audrey's work, her fear into power exercises, everything that she talks about in a session, doing timeline work. Love the illustrations, everything, subconscious destructive thinking. Look at that.
This looks like it would be a good book to get in a paperback because the size of it is exactly like a workbook. Like it's not just something that you just casually read.
Well, and she also has a workbook that she gives her clients that is called Tools for Transformation. And Audrey put an announcement up. Yes, you can also watch it live on YouTube, Conscious Mind Tripping with Audrey Newmont. And
fantastic. I'm going to find that playlist.
And Audrey did a number of short videos. She read the book, and put it on short videos, a little bit at a time. And so you can watch her on YouTube. And it's not just audio, it's video. So please check that out. Again, The Mind Trip Game, Audrey Newmont. Get a copy. You'll be glad you did. And if you get it through us at the Newmont Center, Audrey will autograph it for you. So there it is. It's a wonderful book.
That's a really great idea because the audio and even the video, but along with the touching the book, that is how the preference of a lot of newer, like people studying, like if you will, spirituality or magic and stuff, that's what they're doing. They're getting audio copies so that they can listen while they drive or what have you. And then they have the paperback because they're finding that they have better retention with the paperback. So, I just love the formatting. It's great.
Thank you. It's well done. And she really,
Audrey. Hi, Audrey.
She put her heart and soul into it, years to do it, and it's one of those things that Audrey would tell you, but Spirit told her to do it, and I do want Audrey to come on my show and talk about it because I can talk about it, and I've read the book and I wrote a review on it, but to have Audrey talk about it is much better. So we'll get her on. Now, all right, so planets are bouncing around like a volleyball game. right now.
That is the truth. We have now all of the outer planets have changed signs, like all of them now.
And that's huge.
And that happened like yesterday.
Right. So this week alone, we have a full moon in Capricorn this Thursday on the West Coast, July 10th at 1:37 p.m. Now, we have the Capricorn moon opposing Cancer.
Yeah.
You talk
18
about
degrees, yeah.
You talk about a emotional polarization, Cancer and Capricorn, all sensitivity and no sensitivity.
Yeah.
See, the Capricorn moon is, as I have called it for many years, the dark side of the moon. So in the Capricorn moon, things get revealed that you don't always get revealed.
Right. Well, and your audience probably already knows about new moons, like the new moon that was happening in January, and how it culminates during the full moon 6 months later. So we're doing a culmination of like the new moon when it was in Capricorn.
Exactly. July 4th, Neptune turned retrograde.
Yep.
Okay. July the 7th, yesterday, this is a big part of tonight's show, Uranus moved into Gemini. On July 13th, 9:07 a.m. on the West Coast, Saturn will go retrograde.
Yep.
On the 17th at 9:45 p.m. on the West Coast, 12:45 a.m. on the 18th on the East Coast, Mercury goes retrograde.
That's right.
But keep in mind that we're already about 10 days into
the shadow,
the pre-shadow period.
Yeah, we are.
So don't take the station, so literal. We're already feeling this kind of stuff. And as Lisa said, we had Neptune and Saturn move from Pisces into Aries. Uranus moved from Taurus into Gemini. And
earlier we had Pluto go into Aquarius finally permanently.
Yes.
So we have all of the outer planets now literally in new signs.
Yep. A lot of change.
Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn are changing back like briefly this fall to
Pisces,
their prior signs.
A little bit. Yep.
But then they're going to be on and it's going to be very eventful.
Lisa,
let's talk about Uranus and Gemini, right?
We're going to, yes. When a planet goes into another house, a house is a thematic change. Mm-hmm. Like if a planet goes from, the first house, which is all about me, the me self, into the second house, then it's about the possessions.
Yeah, resources, money, allies.
Right. Yep. But how big is it when a planet, especially the transcendental planets, move and change signs?
Well, I feel like that they are really related. I do a lot of whole house sign looking at, so I kind of default to that. But what I like to see is the angles. I notice when they hit the angles, like it's totally different.
Right.
But the signs, I feel, are felt on a more collective level, where the angles are more personal. That's how it's been, at least in my experience with clients and family, friends, everything, and myself.
So and this is what you started a couple weeks ago when you were mentioning, when we were talking a lot about Neptune and Saturn conjuncting each other coming up on the 13th. But you brought up that at that time Uranus was going to move into Gemini. Mm-hmm. So first of all, the audience, they don't know the technical part of what you and I know. First of all, what does the planet Uranus represent?
Uranus to me represents, besides all of the like shocking things, like because that's what it's kind of about. It also is about suddenness, where like some of the other outer planets, they're a little more subtle, or at least if they're not subtle, they're slower working. Uranus comes in like a lightning bolt. It's just, it obliterates, it's fast, okay? However, I believe that Uranus's job, if you will, is to elevate humanity, okay? That's ultimately its goal. And so I don't believe that Uranus destroys anything that is supposed to be still happening for humanity. If it's at a high expression already, it's probably supposed to still happen. But humans are creatures of habit. We like habit a lot. Even people that are unpredictable have habits that are totally predictable by an astrologer. Like you can just see like that they try to be unpredictable. So we all have our routines that we really like, okay? And Uranus comes along and says, it's time to up level. So that's really what it's about. And I want it to be very important that Uranus is never going to take away things that are actually really in your highest good. It'll only remove things that are not in your highest good. And that's what I want to say first about Uranus. Because there is this idea that it just takes all your blocks away and that like it just leaves you like, destitute or whatever it is that is happening. And by the way, it can happen in, like resources and things like that. I think we noticed that during Uranus and Taurus quite a bit. Right. Because the emphasis was Taurus, meaning resources, So we noticed it more in an earthy way. Now we're going to have, Uranus in a house of like, and a sign of communication, Gemini, like air, like it's going to be a lot faster. And with Gemini not only being an air sign, but it's a mutable sign, it's going to be like, and it'll be a lot in your head. Okay. I've already seen some effects of this actually. Like just there's some people that like literally can't, deal with all the information and all of the stuff that's happening right now. I do have a little bit of good news though, like with this, when we show the chart of, so what we thought instead of like doing one person's chart, and we're going to do the city of Los Angeles so that, because most of the audience here lives in Los Angeles. So we thought that it would be a good idea to overlay themes because people that live in Los Angeles will show up in this chart in some fashion. So we have Uranus going into Gemini, and with the rising sign being at 28 Libra. I know it's not really visible on this camera. I'm trying to get it to be visible, but I can read off the sign. So this is 28 Libra here, so it's almost Scorpio, okay? And unfortunately, my software changed the date on me while I was running this. I was trying to run it for tonight, July 8th, but it somehow changed to July 2nd. So I had to change Uranus and Venus here into 0 and 4 degrees, Gemini, respectively. But these are going to be making, and particularly with Uranus, we don't even really need to look at Venus because that's going to move on really quickly. But Uranus and Pluto are making trines. Now, we do notice that Pluto is making a Pluto return to the chart, which is huge. It's very indicative of the fires, I think, on some level. Like, it's transforming the idea of home and land. And we had, probably some squares and some other things with that, okay? But with the trine to Uranus that just happened today or yesterday, there's going to be some kind of resources from other people, because that's what the 8th house represents, is other people's money. So there's some kind of influence, and we don't know what it looks like. It might be federal money. It might be, gifts from, I don't know, the world that says, hey, we want Hollywood back, or something. We don't know what it looks like. What I can say is that with Uranus and Pluto involved, whatever these types of things are, it's going to be new. It's not going to be the same as it was. It's not a rehash of the same thing. It will be new. It will be a surprise. We will not have thought of it, okay, because that's how Uranus and Pluto work, and that's how Gemini works as well. Right.
So in the past 7 to 8 years, when Uranus went into Taurus, and Uranus stays in a sign 7 to 8 years.
None of the things that when it was in Taurus actually happened. I was really bummed about that. I thought we would have DIY kits of like cars and stuff that we could put together until the auto industry go away. I thought that there would be more vertical gardens and just all kinds of things that would elevate, but that's not what happened. And I'm guessing it's because Taurus is a very resistant sign.
Well, but the one thing it did, all right,
crypto,
because Uranus rules Aquarius, which is very humanitarian, and Taurus is ruled by Venus, the planet of beauty. And one of the things that did happen in the time frame of Uranus and Taurus was more women became heads of businesses and into political, high-ranking political.
So there was a ceiling broken on some
Yes,
level.
yes.
Okay. Wow. I didn't even know that.
Yep.
That's great to know.
And so that was one of the upsides of it. And the interesting thing is that while the planet Uranus rules Aquarius, that the sign Taurus squares Aquarius.
That's right.
And Aquarius is all about sudden change and whatever, and Taurus is very static. It's one of the fixed signs.
Yeah.
Yep. And
well,
so,
we can't forget, that Aquarius is also co-ruled by Saturn, so that there is an element of fixed energy with Aquarius as well. So it's not just random. Like I do feel like Uranus is random. It feels random to me. But when I think of the sign Aquarius, there's a little bit more like there is a future vision, and sometimes like to a fault, like we don't even know what the present looks like, but with Aquarius, I still feel like that's that upper like vision of like what can humanity be. Taurus is like, what can I keep? What can I hold on to? And one of the things that I thought that was interesting about cryptocurrency, which is a very Uranus and Taurus type of energy, who was all buying cryptocurrency? Was it to actually spend and actually do things with? No, it was hoarded. Okay. And so in the hoarding process of like, like the investments and like, we got to make money, like all of the problems that we had with regular money are all in cryptocurrency now. I would like to see that break up a little bit. I would like to see crypto actually be what it was for, which was to democratize purchasing and all of this stuff without middlemen and all of the things. I would like to see that happen when it's time. We'll see if that actually happens. None of my Uranus and Taurus ideas came out, but so what?
Well, now we have another 7 to 8 years of Uranus and Gemini, and
I just thought of something.
Go ahead.
Unique home, like something maybe unique home might be the result of this, like money. Like it might be like, so this is an example because I was thinking of Uranus. I'm thinking of like ideas and Gemini and changeability. There's a lot of people that travel a lot now, and particularly with the industry, we were talking about this earlier, where like a lot of Hollywood, like all those parts have scattered all over the world now. There's probably some kind of a traveling, like there might be some kind of like traveling house type thing that happens with like, Pluto also being changed, right? Like in this house, like there might be some kind of things where lifestyles are like people come and go. Like it might not be the same kind of housing and the same kind of thing that's happening. And this just came to me while we were sitting here, like talking about all this.
When you're tuned in like I am, Lisa, you're not just a technical astrologer. And a lot of times when you look at a chart, it's just doing tarot cards, reading a palm, whatever.
Yes.
There are times that it triggers a vision.
Yeah, it talks to you.
Right. It's not just technically, on the chart. So the other thing that, and this is just something I get, with Uranus and Gemini, the thing that will change, for a chunk of years now, people have been so politically correct and holding back on what they say. Uranus and Gemini, that's astrological Tourette's.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could see how, and people may not be able to hold back what they're saying.
Right.
I think, though, that we need it a little bit right now, though.
Right.
Because there's been so much pressure to conform and all of that, and that's so Pluto and Capricorn, too. And that's gone. And now that it's in Aquarius, it's like, it was already starting to set the chart to break the patterns. And then Saturn and Neptune are changing signs, like Aries, talk about like truth bomb, on its own level. And I know it'll go back to Pisces a little bit more before it goes way into Aries next year, but that's going to add to this.
Oh, sure. And my audience has certainly heard enough times that Neptune and Saturn are going to align very closely on July 13th when Saturn goes retrograde. Then they start to separate a little bit.
Yeah.
Then they come back together February 20th of 26. But that energy never really goes away.
It never really goes away. I do hope that while it's in Aries, and I know that we're off topic a little tiny bit, but I promise we'll come back to what we're doing, because this is part of a little mini trine that we're talking about. I believe that with Aries, like there might be, like the Pisces might have been the, I'll just go to sleep. The illusion is fine. I don't care. There might be a little bit more initiative toward knowing the truth, so that they'd rather be truth bombed than like not truth bombed.
Right. Well, and the other thing is, because Neptune is retrograde and goes direct, I believe, in November.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of this year, that once Neptune, as we get toward Christmas and into January, forms an opposition in the chart of Los Angeles to the natal Neptune, and it sits on the moon.
It sits on the moon of Los Angeles. My goodness.
So there's some kind of the romance of Los Angeles and Hollywood is actually going to come back.
I think so too. And Saturn will make it practical. It'll have to be in a practical way, because right now there's not really a practical way, because a lot of things left over the years. And we were talking about how the old industries that were working for the last, 100 years or, ish. Right. Okay, it's not happening with them. They're like just like existing, selling licenses to things that are, that are like 40 years old, 20 years old, whatever. They're not doing anything new and innovative and risk-taking. The new stuff is coming from new energy, but we don't know what the new energy looks like yet. This could be a private, like, hey, I'm a billionaire. I like entertainment. Like, I'm going to give the city of Los Angeles some cash here because I want to see the awesome films. So, like, there's the mini trine that would be activated. Like, that's an example scenario of what could happen.
See, in Los Angeles, the other thing that's going to be very beneficial is that next year, Jupiter goes into the 10th house of Leo.
Yes.
Which means the LA shines again.
Yep.
Yeah, here's something really interesting. In astrology programs, there are a lot of cities, countries, famous people, events there are exact times when things have been recorded. And I was noticing the birth date of Los Angeles is September 4th, 1781. But this is a trick question, Lisa, and I'm going to catch you off guard.
Okay.
Ironically, with tonight's show, what is significant in astrology about 1781?
Wasn't that when Uranus was discovered?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
March 13th,
I nailed it.
1781. High five. Way
Awesome.
to go. Yeah.
Hello, and what are we talking about tonight?
Uranus.
Uranus.
And so
having an 84-year cycle. Yeah.
Yeah. Los Angeles being founded in 1781 is very Uranian.
Very much so.
6 months before Los Angeles was founded, Uranus was discovered by Herschel.
Right. Well, interesting that I just was realizing here it is at 2 degrees Cancer in the chart. So after it goes through Gemini, when it changes to Cancer, we'll have a Uranian return. Now, it'll be after the Jupiter Leo cycle because Jupiter moves faster. But, I still think that there's some new energy. Okay, here's the thing. There was a lot of concern about, is LA going to go Detroit on us? Okay. I don't think so. I don't think so either. It's transforming. There is no doubt about that. Okay. But if we can come out of the fires as the phoenix, right, rising from the ashes, literally, because, I think that the fires might be indicative of that Pluto return, okay, in the soil in the 4th house, and just pretty intensely physical evidence there of Pluto return and in the 4th.
Right, because Pluto rules the 8th house, the Scorpio house, which
like
is all about death and rebirth.
Absolutely.
Death and rebirth. So
Yeah.
this is significant if you're a resident of Los Angeles, because this is a tearing down and rebuilding,
Yeah.
literally and figuratively.
Oh, absolutely.
Jeez.
Absolutely. And LA is very unique. So I was thinking about like, and you're probably aware of the financial cycles of where when the North Node goes through Aquarius, property values drop. And it doesn't rise again until it gets to Scorpio. Okay, then it goes through Scorpio. Then you see the rising until it gets to Leo and Cancer. And it's at the top of when the North Node is in Cancer, it's at the top of the heap of like property, because everybody's focus is on getting property, like paying top dollar. Once it starts passing that, it's, like in Taurus, right? It's like just like it's mogating along. It's not rising anymore. But once it gets to Aquarius, it falls again. Okay, and this has been a proven cycle. Where are we now in the North Node, things happening, right? We're in Pisces. It's almost to Aquarius. The property values are going to be dropping, but I think with LA, because of this energy, like they may be like not really as impacted as like other places in the country. Other places that are traditionally like not places that usually have a high property value, they're going to drop. And I also noticed online that properties are already dropping. I've been looking around online, and all the places, like, so California is one of them, okay, all over California. But I'm sure that the beaches are always going to be, like, that's always very desirable property,
Sure,
okay?
sure.
But, like, as a general thing, California's dropping, but even Arizona, Texas, some of the South, like, all the places that people fled to during COVID, they're all dropping now. And some of the places in the Midwest and like Northeast are like staying their value. So it's really strange to watch, because it's not even to Aquarius yet. So what do you think when it gets to Aquarius? Like it's gonna be crazy, For anybody that
can
wants
see
to
that
buy a
coming.
house, they might want to save their money right now and wait till the property drops. Okay, like when it goes, and that, because it's like what, a year or two, right? At this
Right,
point, like
right.
it might be 3, and there may be other astrological things that have to come together along with that North Node in Aquarius before the things happen. And every city is going to have its own individual energy, but I do want to say that LA, I think, has a unique energy because of Pluto, and there's other things going on in LA that makes it unique. And I think it's a very unique place anyway.
Right, especially the year that it was born.
Oh yeah,
Uranus,
when it was,
Uranus discovered at the same time. It is unique.
yeah,
It's also, in the chart and you can see it on my page and Lisa's, Neptune and Venus are aligned with each other, and when Neptune is on top of Venus, there's a tendency to fall in love, but not see who or what you're falling in love with. And so we all know that Neptune creates illusion and creates a facade, but it's in the area of the 12th house, which is the Neptune Pisces house. So you have no idea what you're really getting involved with.
yeah. You know what? Too, the progress moon right now in Los Angeles is at 11 degrees Pisces.
Yes, I have it right
Yeah.
there. Yep.
So we are activating that part of the chart again. So when the progress moon, because it moves a degree a month, it'll be in Aries too, and it'll be like actually making some connections with the Neptune,
Yeah, in 19,
like and across the North Node too.
18 months roughly, a year and a half, the progressed moon in Los Angeles' chart will go into Aries.
Yep.
Definitely. So for people on a personal level with Uranus and Gemini, and of course everybody's chart is different, wherever Gemini,
Right.
is,
Oh, we can do a turning the chart. So here's the Gemini part, right? Like, so we can just do Gemini being the first house, right? And then do the wheel this way. So we could just look at it like this. So when Uranus it'll be in Gemini. So it's here right now. So we'll hold it this way. So the trine would come from the 9th house for people that are Gemini Sun or Gemini rising. That's what I'm talking about. So they're going to have a change in their appearance, probably. They're going to do something different. They may shock us all, outwardly, like to be where we see it. Like for, it's been maybe secret while it's been in Uranus and Taurus in the 12th house, right? For them, okay. But like for people that are like, say, a Leo rising, okay, this would be the Uranus would be in the 11th house. And then Pluto would be in the 7th house. So that might mean friends as partners, things like that, like for, whatever they're doing. So Leo rising people might want to look at that. And just another example, like let's look at Scorpio rising, because why not? Okay, look. We got Jupiter over here in Scorpio, and so Scorpios probably do pretty well in Los Angeles because of the Jupiter influence here. So if you're a Scorpio rising and you want to know what the Gemini energy is doing, that would be the 8th house, okay? So other people's money, other people's resources. How Scorpio is that? Okay, right. Literally, okay, and making like an energetic energy with, let's see, so Scorpio would be, this would be the 4th house, so 4th and 8th house. We were just talking about that, like even in the LA chart, and probably because even though it's Libra, it's really late Libra on the rising.
Right. One thing that people got to watch, and I'm thinking about people, okay, that the 8th house in astrology is death, rebirth, sex,
the occult.
The occult practices, rituals,
surgery,
public conveyances, trains, planes, buses, things like that. So with Uranus in Gemini, in the 8th house of Los Angeles, for the love of God, please be careful driving the car.
Right.
Because that's Uranus is erratic.
Yeah.
There really isn't a good or bad to Uranus. Mm-hmm. It's always undulating energies. It's unpredictable.
Yeah. Especially watch the times when it's making hard aspects to Mars, and that includes the conjunction. Because Mars would be the ruler, a classical ruler of Scorpio, and Mars also resonates with action and all of those things. So if it's together, I mean, you and I talked about Mars, Uranus making accidents. But for people that may be Scorpio rising, because of the energy being in the 8th house, that could be money going out to something because of accidents and things like that. So that's a good idea for people to be careful. The other one that would be like Aries rising would be that, but like it would be making a better aspect because Gemini and Aries are sextile to each other, so that it might not be as nutty. Oh, okay. So that would be in the 3rd house. So you would be doing, more about like your familiar environment, like brothers, sisters, neighbors, those types of things.
So for those of you watching that aren't as familiar with angles, here's a quick lesson. So a conjunction is when two planets are basically on top of each other.
Yep.
A sextile is a 60-degree angle, which is favorable. Things flow. A square, a 90-degree angle, is a very hard angle. Two planets are blocking each other. Then, Lisa said trine. A trine is a 120-degree angle, and that's where things flow the most. And then, of course, we have the opposition, the 100-degree angle, which create focus, but they also create stress.
Yeah.
Then another angle that comes up a lot.
And magnetism too, because it's a polarity.
It is.
So it's a little different because the square doesn't have that going for it. The square is just hard.
Right.
It's tension. Like there's no solution sometimes with a square, where with opposition, sometimes you can find a point in the middle where there's balance, and that point is always different, like for every situation.
Like for instance, in the chart of Los Angeles, and this is the other angle that I was going to talk about, the planet Jupiter is just now coming off of a 150-degree angle to the 4th house Pluto, the natal Pluto. Well, Jupiter and Pluto can create power struggles, all right? Mm-hmm. But an inconjunct 150-degree angle is a weird angle, and the way I explain it to my clients is it's like a chess match. So you make a move and go, oh, I got that, and then they make a move, now you're in check. And then it's like, oh, okay.
Right.
And you make a move, I like that, they make a move, now you're in check. And until that passes, it creates this dance that you have to go through.
It's constant adjustment. That is correct.
And it's kind of like, is it as bad as a square? No. But is it fun and flowing like a trine?
It's harder,
no?
I think, because with a square, you know what's going on. You can see it. A quincunx can hide from you. Like,
That's a good
I'll
point.
give you an example. So this would be like if you map, like that you're going to go on a boat to a point in a map, right? And then somebody like puts the metal compass like next to something that like makes the compass go whoop, just slightly enough where you don't see it. But when you follow that trajectory, you are nowhere near your point of destination.
Right.
But it still has the same starting point. But if you're not watching,
Right.
and that to me is a quincunx totally. It was the adjustment of something. And oftentimes we don't have any resonance between the planets. So with a Taurus Libra quincunx, at least Venus is in common with it. But most of the quincunxes that happen, they're not with the same planets. Like it's...
Every once in a while, the planets align in such a way. In fact, I have a client that's born with this. When you have two planets that sextile each other and they also quincunx a singular planet, that's called a yod, a finger of God.
Yep.
So that's actually beneficial.
And what is the way out of a yod, the finger of God? It's the point in between the sextile.
Right.
It's opposite the I guess the point of where the two quincunxes are. It's the opposition. And again, that polarity, that's usually how to do that. So you want to look at the midpoint between the two on the sextile.
But sometimes, when...
Oh, the boat analogy. Thank you, Audrey.
The boat analogy instead of the car analogy, as Audrey does. So when you have a yod in your chart, that means you've been singled out. There's something that you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So for people...
Well, I have a yod in my natal chart, and it definitely, in my case, because it involves the 5th house and the 12th house on some level, also Uranus, is involved, and Venus. I had kids without planning it. Like, it was like not planned.
Oh, okay.
But I was supposed to be a mom. There is no question about that. Absolutely. I don't regret that at all.
Right.
But that could be pretty stressful for some people that are not prepared.
Of course. So for the people watching, when with and we, of course, we don't know everybody's chart, but with Uranus and Gemini as a society, what do we tell them? Like, how do they operate? Because you can tell someone all these angles and everything, but some people sit there and go, "Well, what do I do with this?"
Well, I'm having a feeling that people are already noticing because of the frenetic mental energy that is happening. I have a feeling that people are like in their head and they don't even know why, and that might be like one thing that collectively might be a thing that is happening. And in your chart, wherever Gemini is, it might be where you're erratic, like where the things are getting shaken up, where those things are happening. And of course, if you really need help, we're here to help you. We do readings.
Of course. That's what we do.
That's what we do. But we do like you to be educated about your own chart as much as possible as well. And so if you know that some things are happening, says Gemini rising, I felt things changing 6/7/67.
Looking at something.
That's really weird because that happens to be Dave Navarro's birthday. That's really bizarre. Like, how did you feel that all those years ago? Or maybe they're like, I don't know, maybe they mistyped or something. That's really interesting. Anyway.
Who wrote that?
I don't know. Whoever, Anne, but I can't read it from here because it's too blurry.
Oh, she said she's a Gemini listening.
So she was, that's her birthday.
Yes.
So she was born on Dave Navarro's birthday? Seriously? He has it he has it tattooed on his hand, so that's how I know. So you might want to look it up.
Right.
Well, So we have, so if you're a Gemini sun, okay, you're also going to be feeling this because it's going to be like in your body, and your body is partly nerves, right? All of those things. If you feel like just, erratic right now, or any time like during the next 7 years, you might want to look at Uranus being in your sign and having therapies, I guess, or backup methods to cope with those things. And yes, Geminis are going to be like even more like like in the frantic area than they usually are.
Well, and Gemini rules the third house of astrology, which is how you think. It's lower level education. Now, let's say this. There's a lot of talk that has gone on, and if Audrey's watching, she's going to start typing any second. There's a lot of criticism about, grade school into high school, because third house is all the way up to high school.
Oh, yeah.
College and beyond is ninth
beyond
house.
is ninth house.
So these are going to be changes in the education system.
Absolutely.
Okay?
We need them, though. We need them because our education system has been irrelevant for quite a while. We definitely need an upgrade.
Because they don't teach critical thinking.
Yeah, well, there's one thing that they do. But they're not even teaching skills that are needed in our new world. I mean, they're literally, even the companies, like, even the corporations are like, like they don't know what we need them to know.
No, because they don't teach critical thinking. Everything
that's
is
part of it.
Memorization.
Yes, that's part of it.
So this will be a big change in that. See what Audrey wrote?
Yeah, don't get me started.
See?
Yes.
Don't
get me started.
And as a coach, a high school coach, I'm firsthand.
I thought school was irrelevant when I was there. Okay, and that was in the 80s, like 70s, 80s. I thought it was already irrelevant. I mean, I really thought that it was like, so what are we doing here? This is like we're being babysat, right?
Well, and that's very evident in one of the early scenes of Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes.
Because he's voodoo economics, and it's Ben Stein that plays the role.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like...
Yeah, well, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, that was another one, like a
Mr.
screw
Hand.
around, because there was nothing really there that was of substance for them to learn. It was really difficult, and it was really much like I felt like even before those movies happened, that it was kind of a babysitting situation.
The other thing, third house, is short distance travel.
Yep.
So there'll be something that has to do with the kind of trips people take. There could be different kinds of, especially in Los Angeles, 8th house, public conveyances, some different kinds of means of travel. I mean, we already know there are those driverless cars that exist, so there'll be more, inventions like that.
Yeah.
So Uranus and Gemini is going to be innovation in Gemini things.
Yeah. Gemini, though, isn't like Virgo, where it's going to be getting it right. It's going to be experimenting with lots of different, like, well, let's try this. Well, let's try this. So, like, Virgo will be, like, a lot more, like, what's the right way, like, before we do it. But Gemini is going to probably end up trying everything, like, and seeing what happens.
It's experimental.
Yes.
And remember, when we joke about Gemini as, in relationships, fickle. Okay. Look, I'm a Libra, and this is what I've always said, that with Libra, you'd never take them to Baskin Robbins because you can't ask them if they want chocolate or vanilla. But if you say, do you want chocolate or vanilla to a Gemini, they'll say yes. What do you mean? They mean
like, scoop of both. Are you kidding?
Yes, exactly.
I'm a Gemini rising, by the way.
So...
I want both.
Right. That's exactly
and I'll figure out a way to get it.
So, like 2 scoops on 1 cone.
Yeah. Right? Or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Like if it might be a drag on one side and a drag on the other side, and that'd be fine too. I wouldn't care.
So there's a lot of things that will be affected by Gemini third house things by Uranus spending the next 7 to 8 years in that sign, and it will definitely have a big effect on communication. Well, it'll probably have a big effect on communication devices. There will probably be new inventions that come out that make the current smartphones obsolete.
Look archaic. Yeah.
Right.
Like, oh, wow, that's so museum or whatever.
Right. Because remember, 25 years
Oh
ago,
my
the way cell phones were and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Now,
Yeah.
these phones that we carry in the next 4 to 7 years will be obsolete.
Yeah, sure. I could see that. Our computers might be obsolete too.
Right. Right.
And I know that AI is like a lot of that. And I think AI is very, very new. I don't, I think for me, I'm staying away from it and I'm watching it. Like, I don't think it's evil or anything like that. But I have definitely seen where I don't see the advantages yet. I see the disadvantages. But I know the advantages are there, but it has to like mature with it.
It has to be used in the
It has to
in
be
the right
used in the
way.
right way. And
Yeah,
I know that
absolutely.
there's a lot of talk about using AI as your therapist, your AI as your doctor, your AI as your astrologer. And believe it or not, that's happened too. AI can't even get the darn chart right. Okay. Like, I've literally looked at people when they did their own astrology and I'm like, your data is wrong. Like, why is this even going to be, So it's not sophisticated enough to do that. Okay. For whatever reason, I don't know why. Okay. Like, maybe it's not their priority. Maybe other things are their priority. I don't know. But I don't think that AI is going to substitute for a human to human intimate connection. I just don't feel like it'll ever substitute for that.
No, I know when it comes to that part where you're talking about astrologers and programs, but
Yeah.
humans are psychic
That's right.
and AI is not psychic.
And it is not psychic. It's a great pattern recognition device.
Right.
It does do that, and I think that I know some people that with therapy, like they had the pattern recognized, and AI like recognized the pattern, and when they got the pattern, they went, oh, and they had an enlightenment. But that it's different than the emotional support and the flow of energy between two humans. It's just different.
Yeah, way different.
It's
way
different. So it's not a substitute is where I'm going. It's
Right.
it might be
Right.
a good adjunct though if it's done correctly. And we're waiting for that time.
With Uranus, now in Gemini, for these years ahead, because Gemini rules communication, and it's simply us talking like this.
Yeah.
What do you think that will do to communication? Because there's already a lot of criticism about
How about, okay, this is weird, but I know a lot of people in the Ascension community as well. I would say telepathy might be something that is happening, like where you just bypass language and just beam your thought to someone and they get it instantly, and that's faster than actually having language that has to be, because language can be really clunky, actually, if you think about it, as far as communicating ideas. And then especially when it's foreign language and other things like that. But, wouldn't it be cool to just be like, here's what I'm thinking, boom, and because it's a visual, a picture is worth 1,000 word, and you just beam a picture, and then the picture is understood, and it's done on telepathy. That could be a thing.
Sure.
That could be a thing.
Sure. Because Uranus rules Aquarius, which is all advanced topics. Now, the other thing to remember,
And
too...
Pluto's in Aquarius, too.
Right. Yeah, transformation of Aquarian
Yeah.
things. So, because Uranus rules Aquarius, and it is 11th house things, which hopes, dreams, and wishes, social groups
Yeah.
and organizations.
Yeah.
So
Friends.
there's some kind of revolution of socialization that will take place with
I
Uranus
would
and
say
Gemini.
group creativity too, where a community creativity, where the fifth house would be individual creativity.
Right.
Although children are there and you need more than one person, but that's beside the point. That's where I put sex, by the way, is in the fifth house, because that's what most people think of when they think of sex. They think of fun, they think of recreation.
Right.
They don't think of sex like, we got to control the person's resources. That's sex for eighth house, where there's a control mechanism, where there's control of power and things like that. I think that's more eighth house.
Well, Scorpio rules the 8th house.
I
and
know.
Scorpion people
Yeah.
can be very sexual, but that's more of the act of sex with intensity, okay?
Yeah.
You're right. The 5th house is pleasure, dating, hedonism,
Yeah.
sexuality. The fifth house is more romantic. The eighth house is just like, let's get it on.
Right. And but also for the power and the control. Like
Sure.
the whole purpose of it is different in the eighth house than
Exactly.
just having fun. Most people, when they're talking about sex, they're talking about fun. They're not talking about like securing a legacy or something. At
Yes.
least in my clientele. Okay.
Right.
Maybe your
Exactly.
clients are different.
Well,
I don't know.
See, the eighth house is also where how sex is money is earned in behavior like that. And one time,
Oh yeah.
one time,
I would say that too. Yes.
one time, one of my clients gave me the chart. He didn't even give me the woman's name. He just gave me a code, and I put it in, and I was looking
Okay.
at the chart, and I looked at it, and I said, "How do you know her?" And he said, "Well, she's a massage therapist." I said,
Are you
"What?"
sure?
No, here's what I said. I said, "Well, she may be a massage therapist, but she's also an exotic dancer." And he went, "How do you know that?"
Oh yeah, I'm sure it showed up.
And
Yeah.
and it had to do with where Uranus was, along with the 11th house.
and the eighth house probably.
Was.
Like and how it
Yeah.
aspected the eighth house and
Yeah. So
yeah.
so
I would
it's-
definitely say like the if you will the entertaining arts that are sexually oriented would be eighth house. I would definitely say that.
all of that prostitution, the
Yeah.
pornography
Yeah, like
industry.
that whole industry.
Yes.
That would not be fifth house. That's eighth
Not at
house.
all.
Absolutely,
Not at
because
all.
it's power and control and
Exactly.
money.
Right.
Like that's what's going on. So if you're negotiating your sexuality for money, like or like maybe even just your body, like in some way for money, that's eighth
Well-
house. It's an eighth house thing.
Now, having said that,
Unless it's slavery, and then that's sixth house, but that's different.
right. But I will say this, that in the chart of Los Angeles with Uranus and Gemini in the eighth house, this could also do something, and God forbid, where pornography becomes even more mainstream.
Yeah, it could. I mean, I don't want it to,
No,
but it's
Lord.
possible.
right.
That's very
So
possible.
we have to keep our eyes on that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now that's only the chart of Los Angeles, but
Yeah.
this is the heart of the entertainment
It
industry.
is. Well, and that might be one of the avenues that they're going to try to explore in order to reclaim an industry that was here that has left, right? And
Right.
they may try to be looking at some of the negative sides of, or I say negative because I'm not really in favor of exploiting anybody's power for any reason.
Right.
Okay, so those are the kinds of industries that tend to exploit other people, and I'm not in favor of that.
Oh,
okay?
not at all. Not at all. The other thing about
yeah.
Gemini third house is when it comes to people in your life, it's siblings, it's aunts and uncles, and it's neighbors.
Well, and twin things, like twin two, like double, like you see double things or, like things like that.
So this could have to do with how your neighborhood is,
yeah.
and how, look, they're already talking a lot about what they
Well.
call those 15-minute cities.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And people have to be very careful with that.
They do.
Very careful. It sounds
Yeah.
attractive that something is
And
within
eighth
proximity.
house has like ulterior motive, like that could be like a thing where it's like, here's money for this, but like they're really getting something else out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
the
see
eighth
that.
house is Hades.
Oh
And
yeah,
the river
it
Styx.
definitely is.
Yeah, so you have to be careful
It
with that
definitely
kind of
is.
stuff. So many things sound attractive at first, and if we've been into smartphones. But remember something, folks. The theme of the movie WALL-E, the Pixar movie WALL-E, and what happened to society.
Yeah.
Everybody got big and fat and immobilized.
Yeah.
So because we allowed ourselves to rely on.
I hope that Uranus and Gemini will not have that kind of effect. Like, I mean, I hope that like it has enough energy that it wants to move and all of that, because like I think of Gemini with nerves and Uranus being like activated, and so hopefully people want to exercise in order to get some of that extra energy out. Okay.
Well, and now here's we have a couple minutes left. Here's
Sure.
the upside of Uranus and Gemini.
Yeah.
Because Uranus is Aquarius. Aquarius brings revelations. okay? And that bolt of lightning, it's very insightful. So we'll probably see a whole new level of spiritual growth with Uranus and Gemini, and that as this show is called Mainstream Metaphysics, you'll see a lot more media that caters to the metaphysical, ritualistic, spiritual craft.
That's really cool because, I mean, I think that there's already been an uptick of interest in,
you know, Gaia
since
channel. And
2018, I've really noticed a huge level of interest in not just astrology, but like also everything, like, if you will, extra physical, metaphysical, okay, witchcraft, like everything, like just all of the things, like everybody is interested now. And I remember that there was a time that you couldn't even say anything about any of those things. You know, you couldn't talk about
one of these
aliens, you couldn't talk about like anything, right? And I mean, and everybody has their thing that they're into. So whether it's shamanism or whether it's, you know, like magic, or whether it's, you know, like ascension, or, you know, star seeds, and like everything, right? Like just the whole thing. There's a lot more openness to that now. So you're saying that it's going to continue to grow and open, and I think I agree with that. And I feel like that the way to do that is going to be through connection. Uranus, Pluto, Uranus like the fast, but Pluto like being the trine in Aquarius, because it's in the sign that Uranus rule, like in modern astrology. It's going deep.
Right.
We're going to still need the human connection, you guys. We're not going to be like, oh, wow, humans will be replaced with robots. Okay, maybe some jobs and things that are like, hopefully the idea is to do the jobs that nobody wants to do so that we can be creative and have fun again. Right now, I've seen a lot of AI things that steal people's creativity. And, you know, I'm talking about plagiarism and other things. That needs to be fixed.
It does.
Yeah.
As we finish,
and not just art, I'm talking authors. Like, there's other things going with that, and I'm not a fan of plagiarism.
Right, not at all.
Yeah.
People work hard for what they
do. And if you have an art style that you want to tell AI, make an art style of so-and-so's name, I think that they need to get like a percentage of that royalty that goes to the AI company.
Definitely.
I don't understand why that's not happening. But
one last question for you, and this is about you.
Okay.
How many degrees are you Gemini rising?
29.
So you have way down the road. So in about 7 years, 6-7 years, Uranus is going to cross your ascendant.
Yep.
So big changes down the road, and it's unexpected. I already had that happen.
Oh,
I was around 40 when it happened, and my life just went like that.
Well.
So.
Very interesting. What's your rising sign again? I forget.
Aquarius.
Oh, Aquarius. Oh,
2 degrees
like
Aquarius rising.
Definitely had that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember it going through Aquarius very well because it's my 9th house, and I had a lot of changes because I have Saturn there too, along with Venus. So it changed a lot of things, and I remember.
Well, as we close, look, expect a lot of change.
Yes.
There's a lot of information, and we've given you the pros and cons of Uranus and Gemini. And wherever Uranus is in your chart, or wherever Gemini is in your chart, if you'd like to know more about that on a personal level, you can contact me, Lisa. If they want to contact you for a reading, how do they get a hold of you?
Timing Magic, or if you do Linktree, I'm /Timing Magic, and you can just find me on my social media or whatever. You can email me from my website as well, timingmagic.com.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming on again.
Yay!
Really appreciate it. This stuff is so fascinating.
It truly is. And I'm a little excited for Uranus and Gemini. I haven't felt like that there was enough change happening while it was in Taurus, because, and I'm guessing Taurus being so resistant.
Well, this
wasn't really happy with the whole changing everything, because the first reaction of Taurus, if everything is changing, is put it back the way it was. Right. And that's not what Uranus is about. Well, so Gemini is not going to do that.
I can guarantee you, as we close, that with Uranus and Gemini, it will not be boring.
It will not be boring.
Buckle in, hands and feet inside the ride at all times.
Yay.
Lisa, thanks so much for coming on again.
Yay.
And we will have you back Because all
I'm
these-
sure when it'll happen again, and how very Uranus and Gemini. Okay.
Right. For those of you watching, again, if you have questions, contact me through Facebook or at nnewmont@gmail.com. As always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you. I'll be back here next week. And as always, everyone, and by the way, thank you to Ed Hunt for manning everything back there. Good job, Ed. Thank you to those of you who have been watching. And as always, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I will see you next week. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good job.